I was just in the open studio, no furniture, no nothing. I was just laying on the floor, just happy. They hacked my bank account and took all of the money that I had out of the account.
And we're like going around littering on people's cars. We had some pretty upset people.
Yeah.
But
I
like,
am not a DJ. However, I DJ the parties for the I was the big doubter because I said, "Oh, that'll never work for me. Impossible. No one's going to pay for Carnegie."
Yeah.
You know. I kid you not. I sold out in 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
What?
7 minutes.
From hiring teachers or managing teachers?
Oh, I have horror stories. Yeah, that's
okay. Okay.
So turns out that they were having an affair at my studio before the kids arrived. I was knocked on his front door and arrested everyone in the house. And I'm like, what's going on? What do you mean?
Tracy Morris, good to see you, my friend.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for
How you
being on
doing,
here.
man? Hey, my pleasure. Happy to be here.
Doing well, doing well. You are the founder and owner of Morris Music Academy. You started it in 2011, and award-winning school. So you guys got Best Music School in Jacksonville in 2020, which is awesome. You've taken your students to Carnegie Hall.
Yes,
That's
sir.
really cool. And like the rest of the world, you transitioned from in-person lessons to online lessons during COVID-19. You stayed alive and you pushed through it. You're also a community leader. You serve as the director of educational programming at the Beaches Fine Arts series. You're very active in your community.
Yeah, I stay busy, man. Yeah, between running a studio and I love to teach, so I still have my own students and with my community outreach, absolutely. Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you started in 2011. Were you a musician? Did you start off just teaching yourself? How did it get started?
Yeah, man, I've been a musician for forever. I'm
Yeah.
still an active performing artist, but I had to get the day gig. So for a time, I was a public school teacher, taught elementary school, K through 5, at Jacksonville Beach Elementary here in Jacks Beach for about 10 years, and I got tired of it.
Yeah.
So one day during lunch, I'm driving around, and I'm like, man, something's got to change. And I just happened to make a right turn trying to look back towards a school and past a series of buildings that were for lease. And I reached out to the landlord and had a conversation with him, and the rest is history.
So, like, had you ever been a business owner before? Did you even know what you were getting into at the time? Or you just like, I'm just gonna like look for a space and start a business?
Yeah, so no, I'd never had a bricks and mortar anything except for my home. So I did the web development thing for a minute. Web hosting. Had a business partner. We did that, but as far as having my own bricks and mortar business, no, never did it. But I knew something had to change in my life. I ran across the building, as I said, and talked to the landlord, and he's an entrepreneur, obviously, and we had a really good conversation. And at the time, I had no money. The teacher salary, I was struggling. So he put me on what he called his crawl, walk, run program, where he let me come in, got me set up. For the first 3 months, I only paid 25% of what the lease rate was. For the following 3 months after that, it was 50%. The next quarter, 75%. By the end of that first year, I was up at 100%. So that really helped get me started.
It's amazing to me, like, whenever I talk with people about signing leases and getting into the whole commercial space game, it's amazing how diverse the experience is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like for me, we drove all around, looked through windows. I tried the broker thing, but that just didn't work. I literally drove, like me and my wife, we drove neighborhoods. It sounds like, like for you too, just looking at the
Hmm.
buildings, talking with people. But man, it was like some people would just be like single owners. That was the building they owned and they were just leasing it. And others, and which actually I ended up signing a lease with like a giant company, like a giant corporation, but they were pretty
Hmm.
cool with me. they did the kind of like you're talking about the crawl, walk, run thing, but like it was, it's just amazing to me because I've talked to people that that wasn't their experience at all. So getting into the commercial space like right out of the gate, you didn't have did you have any students?
So I pre-registered a ton. Once talked to the landlord here, and he's a cat that owns. I think there's, I don't know, 10 buildings out here that he owns, and so he was able to have that flexibility with me. But once I spoke with him and we came to an agreement, I immediately went back to my the elementary school, and I I hit up all the parents of my students and say, "Hey, I'm not open yet, but I'm opening soon." So within the next month, I gave them all the details. So I was able to hit the ground running, fortunately, when the doors opened. And it wasn't a ton of students at the time. I think it was, I don't know, 30 students or something like that. But it was enough for me to get my bills paid.
Yeah,
And then
that's pretty good to get
and then these
started.
spot. Yeah, man. So I was able to hit the ground running, and so yeah, that's how I handle that.
Man, that's wild. So you had not you, like you literally was just you were just like, I got to change something. There's a space, and then it's like, oh, I got this space. I got to get students to fill it.
Right.
And sometimes that's the best place to be, right? Like
Hmm.
I know for me, when I've had my back against the wall financially in the past, it's like there's nothing like that fire that gets lit, to motivate you to take action.
Yeah. And I think that's what separates, entrepreneurs, especially successful entrepreneurs, from the rest of the pack. We don't know how we're going to do it sometimes, but we know we have to make it happen. So we have to take action. We have to formulate a plan. We have to get it done.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's amazing too, like when you watch somebody, literally their life just gets transformed because they have taken action and they've moved forward. So, no, that's really cool. So you got started with that, but you were already a musician. So when you were teaching at the elementary school, were you doing like were you a music teacher? Were you doing music classes there?
Yeah, so I was I was an extreme hustler, man. I was, I had the day gig. For a while I did three things at the same time. I was teaching from 7:50 a.m. to 3:10 p.m. at the elementary school. Then I'd hustle over to my studio location so I could open by 3:30, and I would teach lessons there, and then of course at night I'm performing as a musician. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I feel like with musicians, I remember telling teachers this all the time, like, it's kinda like a patchwork career, you know?
mhm,
Like, if you're gonna teach, then and in my case, I'd be interviewing them, right? So if you're gonna teach for me, oftentimes and you wanna perform, then it's like, okay, you're gonna do a little bit of that, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit, because performing is kind of like I feel like that's like the lifeblood of a musician,
sure.
you know, that wants to do that. I know some don't really care, but like a lot of musicians and teachers especially, they also really want to perform.
Mhm.
So is that kind of you? Like was that did you sort of have that in you like you want to do teaching thing, but you really live for the performance as well?
Yeah, well, I went to school for a performance, performance degree, jazz studies. And so I've always been a musician. I'll always be a musician. And again, the necessity at one point in my life of having to have a day job, I kind of
Yeah.
fell into the music education thing, the elementary music ed thing, and realized I was pretty good at that also. And so it just kind of stuck. And then that led to me opening Morris Music Academy.
When you opened, okay, so it's like, I mean, there's so many different things when you open up, a brick and mortar. Like there's the decor,
Hmm.
right? Like what's your look? There's like buying all the instruments. There's getting everything set up. There's the teachers, hiring the teachers. There's like who's gonna turn on the lights and like how did you deal with all that?
Again, that hustle mentality, right? So
That's right.
so one of my co-workers at the elementary school, her husband was a painter, and so I needed a few
Mhm.
rooms, pop of color in the studio. So he came out and helped me set up and paint. I found it was actually a dental, was it a dental practice? I think it was a dental office of some type that was closing. And so all of their office furniture, they were liquidating it. It was like a yard sale. So I was able to roll up in there, and I think for $500 at the time, I was able to, outfit my office with chairs. I mean, the nice chairs and a desk and everything. So it was a chef on a shoestring budget. I was making it happen. I did pick up, I had one piano at the time, one acoustic piano that I picked up from a local piano store, and then electronic keyboards in the rest of the room because they're the most cost effective, quite frankly. And
Yeah.
yeah, and that was it, man. Got a couple of plants, had a fish tank, some things.
I love it.
So, and thankfully, most of my clientele in this area, we have a lot of band instrument students. So, as a wind musician, at the time I was covering saxophone, flute, clarinet, and piano. And I brought in a buddy of mine who was interested in teaching, making some extra bread. He taught guitar and had another young lady teaching violin. And there was just the three of us in the beginning.
So you had this drive, like you talk about that, like you had this drive, you were getting after it.
Mhm.
Like, where did that come from? Did you grow up with parents that just gave you that drive? Like, where do you think that came
Oh
from?
yeah, my parents are like they're both can't fail people. This like they're the burn the boat type of mentality. You get there and you formulate your plan and you work the plan and make it work. Yeah. So my dad, he's no longer with us, but my dad was he always was the guy that had several different jobs. So
Yeah.
hard work was no stranger to me. So in the beginning, having to work the day gig, then the studio, then also gigging, that's what I saw growing up. So that level of work ethic wasn't foreign at all. So I know I was able to turn that into making my particular dream come true.
The reason I'm sitting on this for a second is because you look at kids nowadays, and I mean I hate to say it that way, but it's like it's amazing to me how that's so rare to like for somebody for especially a young person to have drive.
Hmm.
Like it's not do my best, it's do what it takes. And I feel like that's lacking. You know what I'm
Oh no,
saying?
it is tremendously, and you know this. You've been through the continually going through the process of hiring staff, and it's a problem, man. It really is. And it's a tough nut to crack. I run into it all the time from front desk staffers or even teachers at times. It's just a lack of drive, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, it's weird. It's crazy, man. Like, why do you think that is? Because I mean, you talked about growing up, right? Like growing up, you had the example of your parents,
Hmm.
and your dad's working two jobs, so just like hard work is sort of like you're seeing an example of
Hmm.
it. But now it's like there just isn't that drive, that work ethic, right?
Hmm. And I don't get it, man. It's because the concept is so foreign to me. I do not understand how cats can be so just like apathetic, or they have no get up and go, no drive at all, and expect things to be given to them, so to speak.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky for sure. So you had that. You got the doors open. And it sounds like you you went out and got 30 students right away. That's pretty awesome. You by poaching from the school that you were working at. That's great. What were some of those early months like? Like what were some of the challenges that you faced, with just having a space and, having the lights on and having to having to deal with your fish tank and all that stuff.
The fish, yeah, it was pretty awesome tank too. I don't have it anymore, but yeah,
Oh,
no. In
okay.
the beginning, the stressful part, rent wasn't it because it was 25%. It was still some money, but
Sure.
making sure those students were starting in the beginning. And I knew the importance of having those students set and ready day one, because again, I had to pay the rent, I had to pay for the lights, the phone, the internet, all that had to be covered, and I wasn't trying to pay all of that out of pocket. So that was
Yeah.
the biggest thing. The next thing was staffing. Thankfully I was able to crack that nut with the two people I mentioned previously, the guitarist and the violinist. So we had most instruments covered, or a good number of instruments covered. I think the first week I was open, I did run into something to where one of my accounts was hacked. one of my bank accounts. And so I remember I signed the lease. I was just in the open studio, no furniture, no nothing. I was just laying on the floor, just happy. Hey, I'm actually doing this. I'm going to do it. I didn't even have the phone set up or the internet. So I remember hopping on my laptop, and I was going to tether to my phone, and I saw something that said free beaches Wi-Fi. Well, to me, I was like, oh, free Wi-Fi. Let me hop on. So I hopped on, logged into my bank account, checked things, then went to the gas station, which is a few 100 meters away from the studio, tried to get gas, denied, declined, declined, declined. Turns out it was a fake Wi-Fi setup. I guess someone was, I don't know what they do, keylog or anyway, they hacked my bank account and took all of the money that I had out of the account, which was horrible. That sucked like tremendously. so, so
So they just got into your account, they hacked it, they drained it. Now
yes,
you got no money in your account.
yeah. So thankfully, and at the time, I had my web business, so I knew what I knew was PayPal. PayPal was my go-to back then. Of course, I have a proper commercial account now, but thankfully, and to their credit, PayPal immediately took action, and they made me whole within 24 hours. It wasn't two
Oh,
days, yeah.
nice.
So the next day I had the money back, but it's still, you can imagine that initial shock. It was super stressful, bro.
Crazy. Yeah. I get, because I mean, like, money is like such a precious commodity, like when you first open up and it's like you're trying to hold everything together and then your account gets drained
Yeah.
because you
Yes.
got hacked.
Yes. And you're already trying to, think of a way to build your business so you can make more money. But then when the little money you have is gone, like completely down to zero, rough.
So, okay. So you got these 30 students, you open your doors, you're going, right?
hmm
Did you have any kind of marketing strategy? You had the teachers, so you had capacity to grow more,
hmm
right? Within that first year. How big did you get within that first year? How many students did you get?
It stayed pretty small, man. I think I was so focused on making sure I had a great product for the students that I had that I did not, for better or for worse, really focus on growing the business, so to speak. We
Yeah.
had those students, and a few of their friends were asking where they took lessons. So it grew a little bit. I don't know, maybe 50-ish students. It was slow growing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I knew nothing about marketing, not real marketing anyway at the time. I was trying to keep the doors open and make sure that these students who were registered had a great experience. And of course, I still reached out to students at my elementary school because in the beginning I was doing both jobs, still teaching in the public school system. So yeah,
At what point did you decide that marketing was something you really needed to like plug in and so you could grow?
when you don't market, you hit a ceiling to where you
Right.
stagnate. I knew at the time, I think at the time I was doing some research online, and this is before, you and I were part of that organization that we were both a part of at the time. And so I was, I did some basic marketing, and I mean basic marketing, like passing out flyers. It was that type of the grassroots kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
That stuff
no,
works.
it does work. It still works actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
that's the only thing I did in the beginning. And then I remember, our friend John Colbrick in Orlando. I had a classmate, former jazz studies classmate, who ended up at the time was working for him, and he said, "Hey, I want you to check out a few things, and I have some ideas for you." And the rest is kind of history. I joined a particular trade organization and began to learn more about marketing, and that kind of helped. It did help, with growth and everything. So yeah.
So I love that you say the flyers because it just brought back a memory that I hadn't thought about in years. But like my wife and I driving around, and she was such a trooper, by the way. I had all these harebrained ideas. She's like, "Okay, I'll drive with you. We'll throw the kids in the back seat," and But like going to grocery stores, I don't know. Did you do this? Like we would print flyers. We went to grocery stores and we like literally took the flyer and put it in on the windshield
hmm
under the wiper,
hmm
and we're like going around like littering on people's cars, throughout the grocery store. We had some pretty upset
Yeah.
people at us. But like we actually got students from it,
Yeah.
and it's like you do these crazy things. You think, oh well, that's like you said, this is an old fashioned idea, but you get students from it
You
too.
do, yeah, man. One thing that was helpful for me, especially because we have a pretty decent population of band and orchestra instruments, or band instruments specifically, I would go to a middle school and say, "Hey, I'm Tracy Morris. These are my credentials. Let me run your woodwind sectional. Let me run your saxophone rehearsal or flute or clarinet." And they said, "I'll do it for free, but allow me to give flyers to your kids so they can take home to their parents." Now that was huge. I still do that. That was yeah,
Nice.
that was big, and it cost me over a month. I'd spend 2-3 hours, not much time at all. But I'm able to distribute 100 or 150 flyers to the band kids. It was a no brainer for me.
So the exchange is they get really valuable info from a professional musician, and you get to exchange flyer, give your flyer out
Hmm.
with some type of coupon or offer,
Yep,
right? That can go home with them, and now you have this feeder, this way of getting new students, and the time commitment on your part is very minimal.
minimal.
Yeah. When did like how did that idea come about? Did you just was it just through your original school that you worked for, or
No, no. So that was in elementary school, but I knew that band programs, at least here, start middle school for the most part, sixth grade,
yeah,
and I know that most band directors have growing pains with their sixth grade students because they're stone cold beginners. And I also knew that any band director would welcome free help from a qualified cat, you know? And
yeah,
so
yeah.
I was able to leverage that into marketing funnel, if you will.
I think that's a brilliant idea. So for me, I was even lazier than that. But what I did was I just called the school district directly
Hmm.
and I said, "Hey, we're a local community music school. We have this flyer. Can we give it to you, the teachers?" And so we did this thing where and I still remember printing out thousands of these little flyers. I'd lay them out on the floor because they made me stack them per
Hmm.
class,
Hmm.
right? And so, like, one class might be 20, one class might be 32, and so I was, like, making all these stacks and then, like, labeling them, and then I would drive them to the school, each individual school, and I'd give them to the secretary, and then they would, like, put them in the teachers' boxes, and then the teachers would distribute them.
Hmm.
We had so many students from that,
Hmm.
you know?
Yep.
And, but yeah, those kinds of things, like, it's amazing how well that works. Still
There's a
works.
million ideas. One thing that I do with a local elementary school, I contacted the PTA, let them know what I was, what was happening, that I have a community music
Yeah,
school, and I asked if I could be an in-kind sponsor for the school, meaning that
nice.
I come out, it's 3 times a year for 3 events they have. I spend about 2 hours at each one of those events. Two of them actually, I am not a DJ. However, I DJ the parties for the for the you know,
I love
you
it.
download a couple of apps offline and you think you're Jam Master Jay or somebody, but no, I'm able to. I DJ for a fifth grade dance. I DJ for a spring dance, and for an outdoor fundraising event they have. I'll bring out my sound and set up outside. The exchange is that I have a banner in the car pickup area for the school, Morris Music Academy. Come take lessons. Whatever it says. I'm on the hanging placard that the parents put in their cars when they pick up their kids, so they see my logo every single day of the school year. And I'm able to distribute as many flyers as I want at the school. So for 6 hours of my time, roughly, I am plugged in to that particular school, and that keeps me at a steady stream of students.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not any music school, as a music school, if you are not utilizing the local schools, like the local public schools in your area, then you're just missing out on a massive opportunity.
Hmm.
A lot of times they don't charge you and they want to support you,
They re-
right? Especially if you're offering something that is valuable.
yep, because it's going to be beneficial to them. Like they don't have to go out and source and pay X hundreds of dollars or $1,000 or whatever it is for a DJ to do these parties all year. They're saving money. The middle schools and high schools are saving money on guest clinicians to come assist their students because I'm providing that service. If they need a trumpet sectional or clinic, I'll send one of my trumpet teachers out there to do it. So it's a win-win.
So you started getting like as you got more experience and exposed to some of these marketing ideas, it sounds like what was happening is you started like your mind started expanding a little bit as to the opportunities, how you could really grow and scale this school. What were some of those ideas other than what you've already talked about?
Oh gosh, man, there are a million. Like, there in my mind, there were no limits. Like no idea was a bad idea as long as I got my name in front of someone. Buying a sponsorship so I can have a decal on the side of the marching band trailer for a particular high school. Any of the volunteer things that I did, I wear. Ironic, I don't have it on today, but I wear my branded shirts everywhere. And someone will say, "Oh, where's that? Where's that located? How do I learn? How do I find out more?" Well, here's a card. Um, just any number of things, man. No ideas are bad. Well, most ideas are good ideas as far as market
Yeah.
as far
There you go.
as far as marketing is concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally true. One of the things that I've learned is, in fact, I have the book, but it's a book called Over Deliver. One of the things that he talks about in there, Brian Kurtz,
Hmm.
is he talks about this idea of multi-channel marketing, where it's like most of the time, and I used to think this way, but it's like, what's the silver bullet? What's the thing that I can choose where I'm going to get all of the students, or what's the secret that everybody else knows that I don't know? And the answer isn't one thing like, oh, you just need to have a better Google Ads, thing, or you need to have the a better Facebook ad or page or whatever or website. It's like he's like, no, it's actually what you just said, which is sponsor the band, have the t-shirts, run the ads, do the flyers. Like literally, it's everything.
Hmm.
It's everything. It's like being in multiple channels or as many channels as you possibly can be in without obviously burning yourself
Of
out.
course, yeah.
And that's kind of what I want to get to with this is like as you started realizing, oh man, like you said it earlier, like there's a million different I could like all these ideas are good. Like how did you start implementing without going crazy? Because that's sort of where my mind went,
Hmm.
when I started also sort of going down this road. It's like, well, I just got to do everything, right? But it's like, well, no, if you do that, you're going to burn yourself out. So how did you like slowly start to expand into more multi channels with your marketing?
So it's important to understand, and you're right. Sometimes we will go crazy, like, man, I got to do everything that I possibly can now and spend every dollar that I have in order to do it.
Yeah.
You don't. You pick a few things and you start there, and you can start with things that are, if not they're free, they're very very low cost. What's a low cost thing? The volunteering at the school to run a clinic. Yeah, it costs a couple of hours of my time, but it did not cost $2,000. Volunteering to DJ. Again, cost a couple of hours of time, did not cost me any bread. Having a referral contest at your academy, you hand out these
Hmm.
referral cards to students. It's going to cost you a few dollars to print, but it's not going to be thousands of dollars. And then you
Right.
put your clientele to work for you because they're going to tell people. You may not get immediate hits, but your name's getting out there, and eventually somebody's going to remember your name or see that piece of paper or see that card and give you a call.
Yeah, I remember Gal, she had a great idea of putting like making these little Halloween bags, giving that out to the kids and being like, hey, here's candy. When kids come to trick or treat, then just give them this bag and it would have candy in it, but also had a little flyer, a little
Oh,
coupon in it. I thought that was kind of a cool
I may have
idea,
to, I may have to
it's
use that
creative.
this year. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. But those kind of thing, like you said, like how much does that cost? Right. Buy
Right.
some candy, get a bag, and then the coupon. So that's like less than a dollar, maybe a couple bucks,
Hmm.
for each bag. But if that's like that's a lead cost, right? So they're literally giving these things out. But it's one of those things where it's like, or if you want to even make it simpler, then you can just do candy with a little coupon
That
attached
part.
to it,
Yes. Hmm.
and boom, there you go. But it's just this idea that it's not one idea, it's lots of ideas, and the more creative the better. I even heard about, the, bring a friend week. Have you ever done that? Where bring a friend week where people, students bring their
Hmm.
friends to watch them in lessons. And then, oh, while you're here, here's a coupon, take it home, and boom, get some students out of it. And that doesn't cost anything.
It costs.
You're literally having people bring people to,
Hmm. Yep. No, you're right.
your school.
Yeah, we've done that before. And it's a free way to generate interest. It's a great idea.
So you started with more the low cost ways of getting new students. That's kind of how you started to expand
Hmm.
your marketing
Yeah,
strategy.
absolutely. Because one, I didn't have the money to go big. I didn't have a multi-thousand-dollar. Well, in the beginning, I didn't have a multi-hundred-dollar budget to 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 get out there and do these big things that I knew entrepreneurs did. I didn't have it, so the creativity was a necessity on my part. And I had to get creative, or else I would have failed.
So how did you win best music school in Jacksonville? What was that all about?
So it was a contest created by the Florida Times Union, the big local paper, in Jacksonville.com. And I don't know why this didn't come to mind. I actually won twice, once in 2017, once in 2020, and I think three times I've been finalist, or the runner up or whatever.
Nice.
Um, so it's a contest in which the public votes, and you encourage your clientele to vote, of course, but then the general public, they have to log into Jacksonville.com and vote for best music school, and it's I was able to do that twice. That was actually big because people want to be associated, or want their kids to be associated with whatever the best thing is, the best
Right.
dance school, the best music studio, the best karate school. And so that was huge. I would encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity to join these best of contests in your county or your city, do it, because it helps. It helps. It helps because I know
And
you've
how
been best music school,
oh yeah.
internationally best music school, and so
Yeah.
that yeah,
Yeah.
so I know that helps.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're absolutely right. Like the psychology of being a part of something. It's kind of like I always use this example of restaurants, right?
Hmm.
Like when you go to a restaurant and it's empty and it's like dinner time, 6:30, 6 o'clock. And it's like, even if I'm hungry, I start doubting whether I should be there. Like,
Yes.
is this the right? Like, where did everybody
Yep.
go? Are they hiding somewhere?
Hmm.
Like, am I in the wrong place? And it's like, well, I'm probably going to get served right away because I'm the only one here, and the cook is bored, and whatever. But it's like there's something wrong with that,
Right.
right? Whereas you go into a restaurant that's packed, you got to wait in line, but you got to wait 30 minutes. It's like, all right, I'll bet this place is good. I'm willing to wait,
It's
right?
funny how that works, man. With the best music school designation in Jacksonville, you receive calls from that. And of course, we always ask, hey, how did you hear about us? Well, we saw that you're the best music school, so that's why we're calling. Or, um, there's an article in online and in the papers here when we first went to Carnegie Hall, and immediately parents called, well, we want to go to Carnegie Hall too, or we want our kids to experience whatever the other students are experiencing. There's always a whole what's the thing? The online reviews. So that's
Hmm.
another. That's a perception. Parents will go to the online first to check out your school's reputation, and if it's trash, forget about it. But if you have
Yeah,
great reviews, then you're good. It's all about perception.
yeah. We live in a review culture, don't
We
we?
do, big
It's
time.
totally true.
Yes.
Tell me about Carnegie. I never did that. You went to Carnegie Hall. You took your students to Carnegie Hall. It's like a long ways away. You had to fly there.
It
How did that? How did you do? How did you
It
do that?
is a long way away, and I never thought it would work in the beginning until a colleague of ours out of Houston did it. And so I called him and I was like, "Dude, what's up? How did that even work?" Um, and so he kind of hipped me to the game on how things are set up and how to pitch things to the students and the parents. And I did it. And it was the first time we went. It was many years ago in December of 2017, and it was a huge success. We ended up having 32 students registered. Everyone was responsible for their own transportation and lodging, and we went up there and had a couple of dress rehearsals before we did, and had a dress rehearsal there before the event, and it was fantastic. We're doing the same thing again this year on Saturday, December 6th at 1 p.m. at Carnegie. So we'll be there again at the Will Recital Hall in Carnegie Hall. And it's a great experience. It's great visibility for your school. again, you talked about the psychology of excellence is definitely there when the public or parents hear that you've been to Carnegie Hall and that you've attended more than once. They love
Yeah.
it. Mm-hmm.
I never did it, so
Mm-hmm.
I've always been fascinated by, like, how do you logistically do it? I mean, I'm assuming you have an announcement, "We're gonna do this thing." Do you have them sign up? Do they have to pay, like, just to be a part of
Oh
it?
yeah,
Do
so
parents have to accompany the kids?
you absolutely, yeah, no, you make the announcement, prepping your clients, letting them know that, hey, on such and such a date, we're registering for this once in a lifetime opportunity. Be ready. You give them all the details. There is a significant participation cost, but it's Carnegie Hall, so you know
Participation cost, so that's money that they pay you just to be a part of
just
it,
to be a part of it.
and I'm assuming that helps you cover the cost of the hall and all of that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And if you, I think we've kind of worked it out to where it seems like 30 is a sweet spot, no more than 32 students. So if you have up to 30 or 32 students registered, depending on where you set your price point, that's enough to obviously cover the cost of the hall, marketing, and to have a pretty solid gravy after that. You have a pretty solid return.
What do
Um,
you charge?
this year, and I still don't charge a lot, quite frankly, but this year I charge 650. Uh,
650 bucks.
Yeah. However, I know we have colleagues in Miami, over in Texas, and some other states that charge 1,000 easy.
1,000
A
bucks.
thousand, that,
Wow.
and keep in mind that's just for participation, and of course every participant has to have a ticket, so that includes their ticket. And generally, we offer one additional ticket per participant, but that's funny money. That doesn't really matter.
So you get there,
Hmm.
you got all these kids
Hmm.
and their parents with them.
Hmm.
Is like, who's in the audience?
So the parents, Carnegie markets on their websites and their publication for the recital. So you may have a few people that'll purchase tickets to attend just because they enjoy the arts. The last time we went, we had, I don't even remember the total count, but it was a huge number of audience members and students' families. They're calling their aunts, uncles,
Really?
cousins, friends, to come up and check them out. I mean, it's Carnegie Hall.
And
So
it's all on their dime.
all
They're buying the plane ticket, they're getting the hotel,
yes,
they're paying for all these things, plus a participation fee, plus they're buying a
yep,
ticket to attend this event. How much are you charging for tickets?
35.
Man,
Yeah.
that's great,
Hmm.
man.
Yeah.
What a cool idea.
Yeah.
What a cool
And then
idea.
keep in mind what was popular now, David, is that many of our colleagues are having international destination recitals. So
Mm,
um, I know the New York Musician Center just had one in Paris. Was that last month? Um,
wow.
and then uh, I think last year was Italy. So these are some serious experiences that you can provide for your students that boost the visibility of your studio.
One of the things I really like about, hearing stories like this is, I think the initial thought, because I've obviously heard about this in the
Sure.
past, people doing this. But the thought for me, like, and part of the reason I never did it was just the doubt that we could actually get people to go. Now, of course, for us, we were on the West Coast, but there's lots of places down in California, that we could have chosen to do it, or yeah, just literally fly, to New York and do it. But yeah, just the doubt that people will actually sign up for that. But I mean, to your point, you're in Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, and people are signing up, they're flying up there, and you're doing it.
I was the big doubter because I said, "Oh, that'll never work for me. Impossible. No one's going to pay for
Yeah.
Carnegie." And if they're interested, they'll never buy a ticket. But it was an easy
But they
sell,
did.
man. In 2017, when I opened registration, I kid you not, I sold out in 7 minutes. 7 minutes.
What?
7 minutes. That
Wow.
quick. And I thought, and people told me it would happen. Our colleagues that have done it before, and I didn't believe them. I was like, oh yes, yeah, I'm gonna get like 3 people to register, and instead, in 7 minutes. And I only had 32 people because I didn't cut it off in time. They were coming so fast. I oversold. My plan was to only have 30 people register, and I didn't cut it off till I got to 32.
Did you have so when you in 2017 you sent it, how many people did you send it out to? How many families?
Back then, it was only probably 150. It was a very small number, but
So 150,
and
and out of 150, you're getting 32 sign up in 7 minutes.
7 minutes. I went because
That's
I
wild.
had online registration. I allowed people to call in, and then I had when I arrived at the studio that morning at 9 a.m. It was like Black Friday. There was a line of people outside the door waiting for me to get there, so they could register. It was awesome.
Wow. Wow. That is
You
cool.
should think about.
That's the kind of thing,
Yeah,
though.
it is.
Like that line, that excitement, that anticipation,
Hmm.
that is healthy energy in a business. Whatever the line is for,
Right.
right? In this
Hmm.
case, it was for Carnegie Hall, but like whatever that line is for, you want people lining up at your school. I remember when we opened up in our first location, I just went, crazy with the marketing, and we did all kinds of promotions and everything. And there were days where there was literally a line out the door
Beautiful.
just to sign up
Hmm.
right, for lessons. And that is health. Like, so, like, somebody sees a line like that, like, man, I'm just gonna get in the line because I want to know what's going on. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just like people get excited about
Hmm.
that kind of stuff. And so you had a line. Now, did you have like a waiting list? Like, were there people like, next time you do it, I want to be on the list, that
Oh,
kind of
there's a
thing?
waiting list then because I had to cut off registration. So there were some very disappointed people. I had to let them know, hey, I'm starting a waiting list. If any of these participants drop out, I'll let you
Mm,
know. But the registration is non-refundable under any circumstance,
yeah.
non-refundable, and so we did not have anyone drop out. So
That's so cool.
hmm
What a cool idea, just because it's so unusual. But I think what makes the idea compelling is that it does require some faith
hmm
from you, the owner, right? Some faith that
tremendous,
like
yeah,
the thing will actually pan out. Because you don't
hmm
want to make an announcement like that and then like three people sign up and you're like, oh, just kidding. We're gonna cancel this trip. you
or
know?
that, or imagine if you made an announcement and let's say 15 people registered, right?
Right.
And so then you kind of still have to do it, but you're coming out of pocket for the rest of any other thousands of dollars for
Yeah.
whatever the fees are for the event. So yeah.
For an event like that, you would definitely want to try to, so you have your fixed cost,
Hmm.
right? Which is, I'm assuming the hall is probably the biggest
Oh, by
cost that you
far, yeah.
have.
Hmm.
And but then you have other miscellaneous costs just for yourself personally, getting there, back, all that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And so you want to, as fast as possible and as as guaranteed as possible, get that cost covered.
Sure.
And the way you do that is through registration. So then it's like looking at, okay, what is the minimum number of students we need to register so I at least get this thing paid for,
Hmm.
so it's not costing the school any additional money. And so then that speaks directly to like, okay, well, how much should we charge per student? What would students be willing to pay? What should we charge for tickets? All that kind of thing. And then also, I suppose at the event itself, you could have like paraphernalia that is only relevant to that day and that concert,
Hmm.
right? So like my sister owns a theater production company, and they do t-shirts, and she thought it was kind of silly at first, but it's like for every show that they put on, they have a t-shirt just for
They
that
have to
show,
have it. Yeah.
right? And so yeah, and so then everybody that's in the show, of course you have this cast of 40, 50 people, whatever, they're all getting one because it's like, well, I want to memorialize this experience that I had,
Sure.
right? And so like things like that would be what I would wonder, like how many different things like that can you stack, right? So that way each person that is participating in this event is, I'm maximizing the amount of money that I'm able to collect off of those to minimize the participation requirement in order for me to pay for this.
Right. Right. Yeah. No, you're right, and that comes back to creativity. You explore as many different options as you can, and pull the trigger on those that are cost effective, or you think you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck. Um, but typically, in a situation like this, you set the participation fee. It's you're going to have your expenses covered, along with
Yeah.
some, icing on the cake. You can take off the top for yourself. So
Do you do it every year?
no, man, I haven't done it since 2017, and that was me kind of, I don't know. I planned on doing it every 2 or 3 years, but then after 2017, COVID,
Yeah, COVID.
yeah, and so I just kind of
Yeah.
lost the, you know, just didn't do it. There's really no reason. Um,
Yeah.
and then recently, in the past few years, I noticed, good grief, any number of the people that we have in common were doing these recitals, and I said, well, I guess I got to do it again. Let me jump back into the fray and do another one. And so here I am.
Did you get the same response?
Yeah, yeah. Well, not quite 7 minutes, but yeah. So we were all
But
school.
right away.
Yeah, right away. Relatively speaking, yeah.
That's so cool. What a great idea.
Oh, it's fun, man.
Um, so okay, I want to come back to your school for a
Yep.
second and talk a little bit about hiring and how you were able to kind of expand beyond your own teaching. Do you still teach?
I do because I love it. I really
Yeah.
enjoy teaching, and so I have certain students, mostly saxophone students,
Hmm.
saxophone and clarinet, that I do teach. Uh, but yeah, eventually you start reaching out because you can't do it all forever
Right.
yourself. And so as a musician, I'm in a very specific circle here in town, and so I know hundreds of musicians here. And so you
Yeah.
start calling around, asking around, see who's interested in teaching. You reach out to your local universities, colleges and universities, and you can help some of those students because they're obviously qualified enough to be accepted to the university. So certainly they can teach beginners or intermediate students how to play their instruments. But then I should also say that just because someone can play doesn't mean they can teach. So that's where the whole vetting thing comes with your interviews. But yeah, man, I reached out to my own contacts.
What were some of those earlier experiences of managing teachers? Because you'd never had to do that before, right? Like this was the first time you'd ever had to manage a teacher teaching your students.
Yeah, so I'm one of the independent contractor cats, right? So
Yeah.
I knew that I was very limited on uh I guess the influence that I could give others on how to teach the students that I was contracting them to teach. So that being said, I kind of in the beginning I went with individuals I knew. I would try to gauge whether or not I believe that they would be good instructors or not. Then of course in the interview process, asking certain questions, or I had my own little process, and maybe have them teach a lesson, or one of my sub out a lesson to one of my students, and I'd observe them. And it kind of went that route, and it's worked out so far. It is difficult having independent contractors to relinquish a certain level of control, because I cannot dictate how they instruct the students as much as I would like to sometimes. But yeah, so
So they're still independent
they're
contractors.
still, yes, still independent contractors. I'm one of the holdouts. Yes, I am.
You're one of the holdouts. Yeah, I was gonna say that's pretty rare. Yeah,
I
yeah.
know I have independent contractors. Orlando School of Music with John down there. He has what, 5, 6 locations now. All of his cats are independent contractors. So I think only because I'm in Florida, I'm able to pull that off.
Yeah. Well, good for you. I
Yeah,
mean, you save a lot in payroll tax for sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you said you have a process. How many teachers do you have right now?
Oh, 13. Yeah,
13 teachers.
yes.
And so, but it sounds like you've been okay. Like no horror stories from hiring teachers or managing
Oh, I
teachers.
have horror stories. Yeah, that's
Okay. Okay. So you're normal. That's good. I
oh,
just wanted to make sure
oh
you weren't one of those purple unicorns that's never had any teacher issues.
no, brother. I constantly have. I mean, you know the game, man. Well,
Oh man,
there are
yeah.
going to be issues whether you have employees or contractors. It's rough, man. I've had to let go of so many people. I've lost track. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. Well, I'm eager to hear some stories. What would you say, like, first starting out, for some of those earlier experiences of maybe a mistake or something you missed, or maybe something's going on you didn't know about?
I have a list, a mental list. I'm trying to go down here. I have
Let's
I
do
have
it.
so many stories there in categories, bro. So I don't know where to begin. So I'll tell you probably my most horrific story, and you know what I'm about to say. My most horrific story is I had the one staff or employee W-2 person that I have is my front desk staff, right? So I remember, and at the time I was friends with everyone. I was friends with my front desk staff. We'd known each other for years. She's my first employee I'd ever hired. And then one of my teachers, who great friends, were colleagues on stage, as musicians and everything else. I went to his wedding, which is an important part of this story, when he got married. So one day his wife calls me. His wife says, Tracy, I need to have an important talk with you. This is very important. And I was like, oh gosh, you okay? Everything cool? Yeah, I just need to, if you don't mind, I just want to meet you at the studio and I have to talk to you about something. I said, well, does your husband know what's going on? That's everything cool. So she said, yeah, I just need to stop by there, before anybody gets there. So anyway, she meets me at the studio and she says, I'm so very sorry to tell you what I have to tell you now. And I was like, I'm thinking she has cancer or like something horrible's happening.
You're right. Yeah.
She says, my husband has been meeting your front desk staffer here at the studio every day before you open. And I was like, okay, they're not getting paid for it because, no, I'm so, I'm thinking they're there cleaning up. I don't know what they were doing. My mind was in such an innocent place. And then she was like, no, they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing at your studio. And I'm like, are they stealing supplies, making copies? I didn't know. Turns out that they were having an affair at my studio before the kids arrived. And I mean an affair, like sex lies and videotapes kind of affair, right?
Oh
Except
no.
I didn't have cameras, so there was no videotape.
Which might have been good for everybody.
So man, yeah, right. So man, I was livid. I don't know what to do. So this was about, I don't know, had been about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And at the time, I think I told you I didn't open until 3:30 because I was doing, working the two jobs, whatever. So students were starting to come and starting to arrive early. So I said, well, come back to my office. Let's just finish this conversation back here. As I'm talking to her, and she's like venting to me at this point, he came into work that day. So he arrived and immediately went into the room that he was going to be in, and he was starting to warm up. He knew she was there. He closed the door, I guess, hoping for the best at that point. Not only that, my front desk staffer came in, so she was at her desk.
Oh no.
So hold up.
All parties were there.
All parties were there. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, I have to somehow diffuse this situation before, all the kids start arriving and the parents start arriving. So I'm telling his wife, okay, let's revisit this another time. I don't know what else I have to offer, but we can't continue having this conversation now. So I'm walking her out, doing my best to escort her out. She peeps her head in the room that her husband's in and says something and closes the door, kind of slams it. On the way out, she stops by the front desk and I stop breathing. I promise you, I'll stop breathing. And she says, and I'm going to keep this safe for work. Let's see. She says, she looks at my staffer and says, I'd appreciate it if you keep your mouth off of my husband while I'm gone. and so,
Oh no.
and so that was the rated PG version, y'all. And so then my staffer was typing and I'm panicked, right? I'm breathing hard. I don't know what to do. she's looking at her computer, just typing, says, "I think that's a problem you have with your husband, not me." And I was like, "Oh my goodness,
Oh my word.
what's going on?" So thankfully, my teacher's wife, her face turned red, and she just kind of like, "Oh," and just walked out the door. Thankfully, well, needless to say, that same day, my staffer was gone. You know, you can't be making whoopee in the studio and expect no repercussions, right? So she was gone. I had to release the my contractor, the teacher. That hurt because he had a million students at the time. So I had to work that out. It was just it was a rough situation. And the very next day, I went to get a one of those pet detection fluid kits or whatever, and got my CSI on. I had the light looking through the studio, making sure there were no traces of any activity on any on anything. Contacted my attorney, make sure I was covered with that's concerned, and then I went to purchase cameras.
Hmm.
And ever since that day, I have video cameras everywhere. They're a must.
Man.
Yeah.
So how did that conversation go with the teacher?
Oh, he knew. I mean, it wasn't really a conversation. When I
Okay.
went to talk to him, and I didn't have time to replace him that day because it was literally a few minutes before his kids were going to be there. So I
Sure.
let him finish teaching, and that afternoon, you know, I believe actually I went in to speak with him. He said, "I know." That's literally he said, "I know, I know." So that was easy,
Yeah.
and it was also easy with the front desk staffer. I mean,
Yeah.
they knew they were busted. It was wrong on so many different levels.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was rough.
Wow. What that's just there's like no words.
No,
I mean it's like
it's rough.
but you dealt with it, and on the other side of it, okay, so now you don't have the teacher, you don't have the desk staff, you've got to replace all these students, and also you have an admin gap, right? And so, but overall your business is healthier, even though it's like little tense and difficult in the short term. That was obviously the right decision to
Oh,
move
it
forward,
was
have
the
them
right
leave. And
decision, man. And I was thankfully, in short order, by the time the next cycle of his kids rolled around, I had a replacement in place already. Um, I sucked up the admin responsibilities myself for a while. So there was really not a gap in coverage there. So yeah, you do what you have to do to keep the ball rolling, to keep it moving. And so
well, and I think that's such a good lesson, because one of the things that I know I struggled with this, and I think a lot of people do, but just this fear of letting people go, not because of the repercussions necessarily from them, but because of the new workload that now you inherit because they're gone.
yeah,
Right? So it's like it's how what am I going to do when or if I let this person go? But what you don't realize is that just the fact that they're there is actually causing harm to the business, on a compounded rate until they leave.
that's right.
Like that's,
And some of
that's the reality.
some of these situations can, I mean, you have situations that can shut you down, man, if you don't take immediate action. During COVID, we were at the time we were 100% video virtual lessons. And
Yeah.
one former instructor had decided he was going to partake in a bunch of pills. And after speaking with him way after the event, he didn't know what the pills were. There were some pain pills and some other things. And he chased them with a bottle of wine right before he logged in to try to start teaching. And
Oh.
I remember it was a Saturday morning, and my cell phone was blowing up. At the time, a lot of some of my clientele had my cell phone number. And they call, "Hey, such and such was online, but we couldn't understand what he was saying. He just looked weird." And then another parent would call and say, "Hey, I don't know what's going on," so it was horrible, bro. So it turned out he had somehow managed to log into three different lessons completely just gone, like zooted, like high, like so high and drunk that he was unintelligible. He didn't teach anything. One of my parents said he logged in and their child was online, and thankfully he didn't do anything horrible, like weird. But he logged in and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And she was like, "Fine." He was like, "Okay, that's a lesson. Bye," and then hung up. And so, and so,
Oh no.
and so,
Did you have these recorded?
so so
Was there
so
a
the way I
recording?
had things set up at the time, no, I'd set up because I'd gone
Okay.
in and set up individual Zoom accounts for everyone, so I can I can know who I was logging in to when, but I had not mandated anything to be recorded at the time. The reenactments that the parents gave me were a trip. And that was the only one to where he was intelligible to whomever he was communicating with. The rest of them were like horrible. So I called this cat after I finally was able to get him to pick up the phone because I had to immediately limit his access to everything. Had to discontinue, like cut his Zoom access so he couldn't contact anyone. It was just
Yeah.
rough. So when he picked up the phone, I couldn't understand one word he was trying to say. He was so far gone.
Wow.
So later that evening, early evening, around 6 p.m., I tried to contact him again. Still couldn't understand what he was saying. He was still high, man. It was horrible. So the next day, maybe 9 a.m. It was a Sunday because I had to you know get to the bottom of
Yeah.
it. He said, "Hey Tracy, how you doing?" He was like the most normal person ever, and I said, "Yeah, I'm not too good right now, buddy." So first I made sure he was safe because he was a good friend of mine. Um,
Yeah.
he said, "Oh yeah, I'm doing great." He said, "But I need to talk to you about yesterday's lessons." I said, "Oh, do you really?" Yeah. I said, he said, "Yeah, I'm not I'm not sure what happened, but I think I need to reach out to those students because none of them logged into their lesson." I said, "Bro," I said, "You have no idea what happened, do you?" And so anyway, I had to recount to him what he did the previous day.
Oh.
He was so going, he had no recollection. So
Did he just make a mistake? Like, was that, or is that a pattern of behavior that he had?
no, so I it turns out that there was a pattern of behavior. He was a drinker.
Mm.
Um and I guess a drinker that thought he could hold his alcohol. I'd never experienced him drinking it during the daytime though, or much less the morning. And so but on this occasion he had taken a bunch of pills and drank at the same time for whatever reason that morning before he got on to his lessons. So that was
That was s
that's scared.
yeah, that was such a weird
It
time,
was it was
you know?
weird, and I was scared, man. I had to pay all that money. You know how much we pay for attorneys? I had reached out to my attorney, and I had to, even though the instructor was an independent contractor, I just wanted to make sure I handled everything correctly because I had to release him. It was very awkward and very very weird. Uh, yeah.
That whole time was so bizarre, like, just going online because, and I remember, like, at the very beginning, we told the teachers, "Stay home, you're gonna teach from home," and then it's like, all of a sudden, you're confronted with the question, like, "Well, where are they gonna teach in their home?" I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I had some guys that would teach on their bed,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
their bedroom,
Yeah.
and I had some teachers that were like, I was one guy, I remember he was smoking during a lesson. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, do you really think that that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? To, like, be teaching a 6-year-old Susie and she's watching you, smoke. So, and then some people would be in their bathrobe, while they're
I
teaching.
believe it.
And it's like, it was so weird,
Mm-hmm.
like, people's, as soon as they're home. So what we did was we actually said, okay, no more teaching at home. We're not going to have students in studio, but we're going to have teachers in studio. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you're going to bring your phone, bring your tripod, whatever. We'll set you up, but you're going to teach in studio because, and then all of those issues went away.
Right. I
because it's like once you're in the place of work, then you actually act more professional,
No,
you know?
you're 100% correct, and there were some issues with us at the beginning with the same thing. Not too many because we'd been used to doing virtual lessons anyway. Uh, at the time, a good portion of our clientele were we have a Navy base or a couple of our military bases here in town, and so as our military families relocated, they still wanted to study with us. So we'd been used to doing virtual lessons. I think at the time, years ago, we are using Skype instead. And so the transition to virtual during COVID was pretty easy for us. But we did the same thing that you did, man. After a while, we brought the teachers into the studio,
Yeah.
and so we could have a bit more control of the environment, and hold them a bit more accountable.
Yeah, it really is interesting. Teachers are such an interesting part of our industry. I mean, we tell a lot of stories and we listen to, all the horror stories of managing teachers, but the reality is 80% of our teachers, even 90% are amazing
Yeah, yeah,
people,
for
amazing
sure.
human
Hmm.
beings, and they carry the load of our business, and it makes it to where we're able to do what we do. But it is remarkable the behavior of some people, and uh,
It's
and what they think is okay.
man, it's rough, and I have, thank the Lord, have dodged some bullets. Now the biggest bullet, this one scared me. I was terrified. Um, and I just thought that I was going to be instantly out of business. So you know that most of us vet every one of the teachers in our studios with background checks. We
Right.
do the local, the federal, the is I do the deepest background dive I can do for any instructors, and I do it for subs also, unless it happens to be a last
Mhm.
minute sub that I have to secure. But I background check the subs. But I will tell you, be careful because background checks don't catch everything. So at a sub that I've subbed in the studio a few times, and by this time I have cameras everywhere. But the sub had subbed here a couple of times. One day we'd called him, set him up. I forget what day of the week it was, but he didn't show up to work, which was strange. And so I'm sitting here, we're trying to cover his students, uh, rescheduling some. It was a big mess because he had quite a few students. So his roommate came in the next day, who's also a student at this university, and said, "Oh gosh, did you hear what happened to such and such?" No, I didn't. Well, yesterday the FBI came and knocked down his door, knocked down his front door, and arrested everyone in the house. And I'm like, "What's going on? What do you mean?" He said, "Turns out that his home, the sub's home, had been under FBI surveillance for like 2 weeks. The reason why is that someone in the home had been on the dark web exchanging,
Oh no.
yes, child pornography. And it was the sub that had subbed here at the studio.
Oh.
Right? Can you imagine? So I think after he finished telling me the story, I'm already panicking, you know,
Ugh.
and I'm going through my surveillance, I'm just panicking, making sure everything was cool. Thankfully, nothing unseemly had happened here at the studio. But the fact that he could have been associated with the studio was very scary,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm watching news reports, just praying that no one says anything about substitute at Morris Music Academy,
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
So that was scary. Of course, that's another time I had to pay all that money to my attorney just to consult with him, to make sure, hey,
Right.
I want to make sure that I'm covered if anything, happens. And he was saying I wasn't in any danger, especially since nothing happened in the studio. But you and I both know if any word like that had gotten out, reputation,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And it's what's so sad about that is it's obviously in that case it was legit, and
Mm.
he was, he had to deal with the consequences of
Yep.
that. But those kinds of news reports, they'll ruin you,
Oh yeah.
and there's not really any way of recovering. I remember we had a competitor in our local market,
Hmm.
and there was a news report that came out. The teacher was accused of inappropriately touching one of the students,
Mm-mm.
like the kids and the students. And so, of course, they went in and they investigated. And the problem with the music school was that they didn't have any
Ah,
cameras.
see.
It was I think it was in like a house, like their house. The lessons were at a house, and they were using the house, multiple rooms, all that kind of thing. They were just, trying to make the best of what they had, but they didn't have the cameras. They didn't have really any way of disproving it. And so unfortunately, this guy goes through all this stuff. Now, I didn't actually hear if he was convicted or not.
Hmm.
But the problem is the damage was already done.
Yep.
Like their school was over, his reputation over. And so, I think for it's a real cautionary tale for all of us music school owners. Like, we are dealing with children, we're dealing with young people, and you cannot take that risk, because all it takes is an accusation. You don't even have to be doing, like, it could be completely false, but the accusation itself can ruin
the
you. And
the
so,
accusation is enough, man. And I want to also encourage everyone, purchase cameras. I don't care what kind of cameras, wireless, wired, expensive, inexpensive. Just have something in your
what do you have? What did you do?
man. I purchased these cameras. I don't know where they're from actually. I found them online on Amazon, and I don't even know if
Hmm.
the company is exists anymore. But because I purchased a bunch of them because they were inexpensive. They're Yi Technology cameras, and
Uh-huh.
I've had them for a while. They're up in the corner of every space
Every
in
room.
every
Yeah.
the hallway. I think I may have one in the closet. They're everywhere except except the bathroom.
Yeah, taking no chances.
Oh, bro,
Yeah.
I take zero chances, man. Because the allegation alone is enough, and thankfully, I did not have to disprove anything. Because I
Yeah.
scoured all the times that particular person was here. Those two or three times he was here,
Right.
um, and there was nothing. It's just you have to be covered. You have to keep yourself, your students safe for one, but also for the safety of your own environment and your business. Also, you have to have the proper insurance coverage too. I think a lot of people overlook that. In case there is an allegation, or in case you do have I don't know, it could be something as simple as a teacher patting a student on the back, you know,
Hmm.
and it's a little girl, and they say, oh, or it could be a little boy, it could be anyone, saying that, oh, I don't like the way they touch me. That's that's a problem. And
Right.
so having that legal safeguards in place. Have your attorney, have your camera, and then I have oh, what's it called? Is it sexual abuse and misconduct insurance? I think it's some type of
Hmm.
insurance I have uh, that covers me and pays for representation if there's such an allegation.
When you go to hire a teacher,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned that most of the teachers are your friends, or all the teachers are your friends. Like, what's the number one thing that you look for? Like, you look at this person and you interview them, you say, this person belongs here.
Well, a lot of them are friends. So these back then they all were, but now
Okay.
um, I meet some of the instructors the first time when they come to interview. Personality is a lot. It goes a long way. Um, if you have someone that's too flat or has too quirky of a personality, or actually, it's kind of weird to say this, but it's too serious, you already know they're not going to be a good fit, um, because probably 90% of our clientele are kids. And so you want to try to
Right.
get someone that's going to relate well to kids, that has a sense of humor, that's very personable, that can relate well to the youngsters as well as their parents. Um, Great communicators. the musicianship is a very important, of course, but you know, those other aspects I just mentioned to me are just as important as great musicianship and the ability
Mm.
to teach, actually to convey ideas and concepts.
Yeah, yeah. So you said too perky. What what do you mean by
No,
that?
not too perky. Too did I say perky? Gosh, I don't mean too perky. Too serious. Like I don't
Oh,
yeah, I don't want to I don't necessarily want to someone who gives the air that they're going to crack someone's knuckles with a ruler. You
right,
know what I'm saying? Yeah,
right.
yeah, not the stereotypical old school piano instructors. I want someone that's fun, basically.
So you want somebody that's
Yeah,
fun. That's what you're
I
looking
want
for.
someone that's fun. I want someone that especially for many of our students. Oh, that person could work on Sesame Street. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I
Right.
want. You know,
Do you require a degree?
that's a very good question. Most of my students, teachers, sorry, contractors right now do have degrees. I have one that doesn't, and he's probably my most awesome instructor. Um, he doesn't have a degree. He did attend music school, never finished, and
Hmm.
is an amazing violinist. Um, and has that perfect personality, if you will. Parents love
Right.
him, kids love him. He has a waiting list. It's like all the boxes are checked. He knows his music. The kids have fun while they're learning. They can't wait to come back. So his schedule's full. It's fantastic. But no, I do not require a degree if they have the commensurate experience. If I know they can play and they've demonstrated that, or I know they can, or I know they can teach and provide adequate instruction.
Do you monitor their student retention?
Oh yes, it's kind of like automatically done in the system, but I do keep an eye on that because I'm a little old school. Like if I have a if your students are registering and they're stopping after a couple of months, then I know there's a problem, and quite frankly, the person wouldn't be teaching here very long if they're the issue. So yeah, I do keep an eye on that. If there's a problem with retention, you'll no longer have a contract here. You won't work. I
Right.
mean, it's
Right.
like it's a direct correlation. You
Yeah.
retain students, I'll give you more, you make money. If not, you're out. So,
So you're just open with them
oh,
and
straight
just
up,
straightforward.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely,
I think
absolutely.
that's so important. I think that's so
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
Tracy, my friend, this has really been fun. You
It-
are an awesome human, and I'm so glad that you're in this industry and you're making a huge difference.
Likewise, man. I know we met many, many years ago, and it's great to reconnect. It's great to see you, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully we can do this again soon.
Yep, I hope so.
All right, man.
All right, take care, brother.